First contact gone. Wrong Commander Elise Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, hands clasped behind her back as she studied the enigmatic structure floating against the backdrop of unfamiliar stars. After 6 months in deep space, the exploratory vessel had finally found something worth reporting back to Earth Command. "Analysis, Dr. Okafor?" she asked, not taking her eyes off the view screen. Dr. Namdi Okafor, the ship's exo-archaeologist, looked up from his console. "Definitely artificial, Commander, and definitely not built by human hands. My initial scan suggests it's been here for at least 50,000 years, possibly much longer." The structure resembled a massive gyroscope with 3 concentric rings, each at least a kilometer in diameter, surrounding a central sphere glowing with a faint blue luminescence. It hung in space, seemingly defying the laws of physics with no visible means of propulsion or stabilization. "Any signs of active power sources?" Chen asked. Lieutenant Marcus Rivera, chief engineer, whistled low. "That's the interesting part, Commander. The thing's practically humming with energy, but I can't identify the source. It's not any form of reactor I've ever seen." Chen nodded, feeling the familiar mix of excitement and caution that came with every new discovery. The Defiant was Earth's most advanced exploratory vessel, equipped with the latest in human technology, but they were still newcomers to the cosmic stage. 6 decades of interstellar travel had taught humanity one critical lesson. The universe was older and stranger than anyone had imagined. "Captain Jackson to the bridge," she said into her comm. Within moments, Captain Darius Jackson stepped onto the bridge, his weathered face impassive as he took in the structure on the view screen. "Recommendations, Commander?" he asked, taking his seat in the command chair. "We should approach cautiously and deploy the research drones first. If all looks safe, I recommend sending a small team to investigate." Jackson nodded, then addressed the helmsman. "Lieutenant Khatri, bring us to within 10,000 kilometers, quarter impulse." As the Defiant moved closer to the structure, something unexpected happened. The blue glow from the central sphere intensified and the rings began to rotate faster. "Energy spike," called out Ensign Wei from the science station. "The structure is activating." Before anyone could respond, a beam of coherent light shot from the central sphere, bathing the Defiant in an eerie blue glow. "Shields," Jackson ordered, but the light had already passed through their defenses as if they weren't there. "It's some kind of scanning beam," Okafor reported, examining his readings. "Incredibly sophisticated. It's mapping every molecule of the ship." The light vanished as quickly as it had appeared. For a moment, the bridge crew held their breath, waiting for something to happen. Then, a communication request chimed from the operations console. "We're being hailed," Lieutenant Commander Reyes announced, surprise evident in her voice. "The signal's coming from within the structure." Jackson and Chen exchanged glances. "This wasn't in the mission briefing," Jackson said dryly. "Put it through." The view screen shifted to show a being unlike any they had encountered before. It had a vaguely humanoid shape, but seemed to be composed of translucent crystalline material that pulsed with internal light. When it spoke, the words emerged directly in their minds, bypassing their language centers entirely. "You are biological, primitive, unexpected." Jackson stood facing the screen with the practiced diplomacy of a seasoned officer. "I am Captain Darius Jackson of the United Earth ship Defiant. We come in peace, seeking knowledge and contact with other intelligent species." The crystalline being tilted what passed for its head. "Your vessel contains defensive capabilities. Offensive capabilities. This contradicts your stated purpose." "We're explorers," Chen interjected. "But space is dangerous. We must be prepared to defend ourselves." The being seemed to consider this. "Scan indicates technological development inconsistent with your species' age." "Explain." Before anyone could respond, a dozen more beings appeared on the screen, clustering around the first. They communicated among themselves in flashes of light. That hurt to look at directly. Consensus reached. This species represents anomaly, potential threat to Axis collective stability, security protocols engaged. "Wait," Jackson called out. "We mean no harm. We only wish to learn." The transmission cut off abruptly. The structure's rings began to spin rapidly, generating a field of crackling energy. multiple objects deploying from the structure. Way, reported, voice tight with tension. Configuration suggests weapons platforms. Jackson didn't hesitate. Red alert, shields to maximum. Helm, prepare evasive maneuvers. The first volley hit before the Defiant could react, a barrage of energy pulses that slammed into the shields with devastating force. The ship rocked violently, consoles exploding in showers of sparks. Shields at 60%, Reyes called out. Whatever they're firing, it's partially phasing through our defenses. Return fire, Jackson ordered. Target their weapons platforms only. The Defiant's pulse cannons fired, blue-white energy streaking toward the alien vessels. But the shots passed harmlessly through them, as if they weren't fully present in normal space. No effect, Lieutenant Rivera called from Tactical. Their ships exist partially in another dimension. Our targeting systems can't get a lock. Another blast rocked the ship, sending crew members sprawling across the deck. Emergency systems kicked in, filling the bridge with the wail of alarms, and the glow of red warning lights. Shields failing, Reyes reported grimly. Breaches on decks 4 through 7. We've lost the port impulse engine. Jackson gripped the arms of his chair, mind racing through options. All power to the remaining engines. Get us out of range, Lieutenant Khatri. The Defiant lurched forward, straining against the pull of the alien weapons. But as they began to move away, a tractor beam locked onto the ship, holding it in place like an insect in amber. We're caught, Rivera announced unnecessarily. Cannot break free. Chen watched as more alien vessels emerged from the structure, surrounding the Defiant in a lethal formation. They're not trying to destroy us, she realized aloud. They could have done that already. They're trying to capture us. Jackson nodded, grimly. Agreed, and I don't intend to let that happen. He tapped his command console. Bridge to Dr. Okafor. What can you tell us about these beings? Okafor's voice came back strained but focused. Based on initial scans, they appear to be a silicon-based life form with significant technological augmentation. They call themselves the Axis Collective. The structure is some kind of intergalactic waypoint, a node in a network that spans multiple galaxies. And they think we're a threat, Chen said. Precisely. Their civilization is millions of years old. They categorize and control all sentient species they encounter, sorting them into developmental stages and restricting their technology accordingly. According to their standards, humanity has advanced far too rapidly to be considered stable. Jackson's expression hardened. So they want to put us back in our place. Most likely they intend to study us, determine how we advance so quickly, then implement measures to limit Earth's further development. Chen felt cold anger rising within her. Humanity had fought too hard to reach the stars, overcome too many, nearly catastrophic challenges on Earth to be caged now by some ancient alien bureaucracy. Options? Jackson asked the bridge crew. Rivera looked up from his console. Captain, I've been analyzing their scanning beam. It operates on principles similar to our quantum entanglement communicator. If we could reconfigure the QEC to match their frequency, we might be able to feed false information back through their own scanning network. Chen finished, seeing where he was going. Make them see what we want them to see. Jackson nodded. Do it. In the meantime, Dr. Okafor, keep analyzing everything you can about these Axis beings, their physiology, technology, psychology, anything that might give us an advantage. And me, sir? Chen asked. Jackson's eyes met hers, determination burning in them. Commander, I need you to prepare a boarding party. If we can't break free from the outside, we'll have to do it from within. Choose your team carefully. As Chen left the bridge, the ship rocked again from another alien barrage. The lighting flickered, and emergency bulkheads began sealing off damaged sections. In the corridor, she passed crew members rushing to their emergency stations, faces set with determination rather than fear. This wasn't the first crisis they'd faced together, though it might be the most serious. The Defiant had been designed for peaceful exploration, but its crew, like all of humanity, had survival encoded in their DNA. Chen tapped her communicator. Chen to Specialist Zhang and Lieutenant Russo. Meet me in Armory 2 in 5 minutes. She paused, then added, and bring the prototype gear. The aliens thought they had the measure of humanity. They had scanned the Defiant, analyzed its technology, and calculated that the primitive biological beings inside posed no significant challenge to the mighty Axis Collective. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The human element Dr. Maya Jiang checked the power cell on her experimental phase shift harness one last time. As the Defiant's lead quantum physicist, she had designed the device to allow researchers to partially exist in other dimensions while studying exotic phenomena. She never imagined its first real test would be in combat. "You're sure these will work?" Lieutenant Sophia Russo asked, adjusting her own harness. The security officer looked uncomfortable with the untested technology. "Theoretically," Jiang replied, with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "They should allow us to exist in the same dimensional state as the Axis beings. Whether that means we can hurt them or just talk to them remains to be seen." Commander Chen entered the armory, already equipped with her own harness. "Good, you're ready. We have a small window of opportunity coming up. Rivera's team is preparing to send false data through the alien scanning network. When they do, the Axis will experience a momentary disruption in their systems. That's when we make our move." She activated a holographic display showing the alien structure. "Our target is this central sphere. Dr. Okafor believes it contains the control nexus for the entire network. If we can reach it, we might be able to shut down the tractor beam and weapons platforms." "And if we encounter resistance?" Russo asked, checking the modified pulse pistol attached to her hip. "Non-lethal tactics if possible," Chen replied. "We need information more than we need bodies, but if it comes down to them or us," she let the implication hang in the air. The three women moved to the transporter room where Chief Engineer Rivera waited at the controls. "The transport window will be brief," he warned. "Once you're inside, you're on your own until you can disable their systems. Standard communications won't work in their dimensional state." Chen nodded. "Understood. Bridge, this is Commander Chen. Boarding party ready to deploy." "Good luck, Commander," came Captain Jackson's voice. "Remember, we need control of that station, but we also need you back in one piece." "Acknowledged, Captain. Starting phase shift sequence now." Jiang activated her harness, and a strange sensation washed over her body. The world seemed to shimmer and take on an otherworldly quality, colors becoming more vivid while edges blurred. Chen and Russo followed suit, their forms becoming slightly translucent. "Now, Chief," Chen ordered. Rivera initiated the transport sequence just as the ship shuddered from another alien attack. The last thing Chen saw before dematerializing was the Chief's concerned face as warning lights flashed across his console. They rematerialized inside the alien structure, but not at their intended destination. Instead of the central sphere, they found themselves in what appeared to be a curved corridor with walls that pulsed with the same crystalline composition as the Axis beings themselves. "Something went wrong with the transport," Jiang whispered, though she wasn't sure why she felt the need to lower her voice. "We're in one of the outer rings." Chen checked the small holographic map projected from her wrist device. "We need to move inward. This way." As they moved through the corridor, Chen was struck by the alien nature of the structure. There were no distinct floors, walls, or ceilings, just continuously flowing surfaces that occasionally formed into shapes serving unknown functions. The entire structure seemed alive, resonating with energy. They encountered their first Axis being at an intersection of corridors. The crystalline entity floated several centimeters above the floor, its internal lights pulsing rapidly as it detected them. Biological entities. Physical infiltration unexpected, impossible. The thoughts pushed into their minds forcefully, causing Zhang To wince in pain. "Not impossible," Chen replied, stepping forward. "Just improbable. We need to speak with your leaders." The being's lights pulsed more rapidly, anomaly confirmed, security protocols escalating. Before any of them could react, the corridor around them shifted, the crystalline material flowing to encircle them. The floor beneath them began to sink, forming a pit that threatened to engulf them. "Jump!" Chen ordered, leaping toward a ledge that had not yet transformed. Russo followed immediately, her security training evident in her swift reaction. Zhang hesitated for a crucial second before jumping, nearly missing the edge. Russo caught her arm, pulling her to safety. The structure responds to their thoughts, Zhang gasped. It's not just a building, it's an extension of their consciousness. Then we need to move faster, Chen decided. If they can reshape their environment at will, we won't last long playing defense. They raced through the shifting corridors, the structure constantly changing around them as more Axis beings became aware of their presence. Walls would suddenly appear, forcing them to change direction. Floors would tilt or disappear entirely. It was like moving through a living maze designed to trap them. Despite this, they made progress toward the center. Zhang's phase shift harnesses allowed them to partially bypass some of the physical barriers, passing through thinner sections of wall when necessary. The Axis beings seemed confused by this ability, their calculated responses becoming less effective each time the humans did something unexpected. Meanwhile, aboard the Defiant, Rivera's team had succeeded in their deception. By feeding carefully crafted false data back through the alien scanning beam, they had convinced the Axis Collective that the human ship was crippled and on the verge of a catastrophic reactor failure. They're pulling back their attack vessels, Lieutenant Khatri reported. Maintaining the tractor beam, but they've established a wider perimeter. Jackson nodded in satisfaction. They think we're about to explode. Good. That should buy Chen's team the time they need. Sir, Ensign Wei called from the science station. I'm detecting unusual energy patterns from the central sphere. It appears to be some kind of data transmission. Massive amounts of information being sent outward. Jackson frowned. They're calling for reinforcements. Deep within the alien structure, Chen's team had finally reached an access point to the central sphere. The passage was guarded by 3 Axis beings, their crystalline forms larger and more complex than those they had encountered earlier. Biological infiltration has reached critical systems. Unacceptable. Terminal countermeasures authorized. The thought voice was stronger here, almost overwhelming. Chen felt blood trickling from her nose as the psychic assault intensified. Zhang, she managed to say through gritted teeth, can you use their own communication against them? Like we did with the scanning beam? Zhang's eyes widened with realization. Maybe. The harnesses operate on similar principles to their thought communication. If I can reverse the flow. She quickly adjusted settings on her harness, then on Chen's and Russo's. This will hurt, she warned, but it should create feedback in their network. When she activated the modified harnesses, the pain was immediate and intense. Chen felt as if her skull might split open. But the effect on the Axis beings was far more dramatic. Their crystalline forms vibrated chaotically, internal lights flashing in disorganized patterns. The thought voice became a confused jumble, then faded entirely. Now, Chen ordered through the pain. Russo moved forward using her modified pulse pistol to fire at the weakened guards. Instead of passing through harmlessly, the energy pulses now connected, causing the crystalline beings to crack and go dark. They pushed into the central sphere, a vast chamber filled with pulsing light and flowing crystalline structures. At its center hovered the largest Axis being they had seen, at least 3 meters tall, with a complex internal structure that resembled a galaxy in miniature. You have damaged this node. Inconvenient, but ultimately irrelevant. The collective spans galaxies. Your species will be contained. Chen stepped forward, ignoring the blood now flowing freely from her nose and ears. You misunderstand humanity. We don't want to fight you. We don't want to disrupt your order. But we will not be contained. All young species say this. All young species are wrong. Your advancement is dangerous, to yourselves most of all. You scanned our ship, Chen countered. You saw our technology, but you missed the most important element. Explain. Humanity faced extinction at least 7 times during our development. Climate collapse, nuclear war, nanoplague. Each time, we stood at the edge of oblivion. Each time we pulled ourselves back, not through superior technology, but through our capacity to change, to adapt, to cooperate despite our differences. Chen gestured to her team. Zhang the scientist, Russo the protector, herself the explorer, different roles united in purpose. This is what you can't quantify, can't contain. Not our weapons or our ships, but our desperate, stubborn refusal to accept defeat. Even now, my ship is preparing a last resort option that would destroy this entire facility and every ship around it. This was a bluff, but Chen maintained eye contact with the central being, projecting absolute certainty. The being's lights pulsed slowly, contemplatively. Your mind patterns indicate sincere belief. You would risk final destruction rather than submission. This contradicts all standard species models. Then your models are incomplete, Chang interjected. Biological intelligence evolves through crisis. Our history of near-extinction events didn't weaken us. It inoculated us against complacency. We learned to treat survival as a continuous process, not an achieved state. The central being hovered, silently for several moments, internal lights shifting through patterns too complex to follow. Finally, it responded. This node will recalibrate species classification parameters. Humanity presents unique developmental case study. Containment. Protocol suspended pending full analysis. The pressure in Chen's mind eased slightly. You will return to your vessel. The collective will observe but not interfere, unless direct threat to network stability emerges. Chen knew this was the best outcome they could hope for at present. We accept these terms, release our ship, and will depart peacefully. The being pulsed acknowledgement, and Chen felt the familiar tingle of transportation beginning to take effect. As they dematerialized, the final thought message from the Axis being lingered in their minds. You will be watched. Always. Back aboard the Defiant, Chen's team materialized on the transporter pad, bloodied but alive. Medical staff rushed forward to treat their injuries as Captain Jackson approached. Report, Commander, he said, eyes widening at the state of his officers. Chen wiped blood from her face, a tired smile forming. Mission accomplished, sir. The Axis Collective has agreed to release us and suspend their containment protocols, at least for now. Jackson helped her step down from the pad. What did you show them that changed their minds? Chen thought of the desperate gamble they had taken, the pain they had endured, and the bluff she had made when all tactical options were exhausted. Nothing they could see by scanning our ship, Captain, she replied. We showed them the human element. As the Defiant pulled away from the ancient alien structure, its rings now still and its central sphere dimmed to a soft glow, the bridge crew watched in silence. They had survived a first contact gone wrong, faced a civilization millions of years more advanced than their own, and somehow emerged not just alive but with a fragile new understanding. Set course for Earth, Lieutenant Khatri, Jackson ordered, quietly. Maximum speed, we have quite a report to file. On the main view screen, stars streaked past as the Defiant leapt to faster than light speed. Somewhere out there, the Axis Collective was reevaluating its understanding of newly spacefaring species, adding a footnote about an anomalous biological intelligence from a small blue planet, a species that, when scanned and analyzed, revealed capabilities beyond their technology, the unquantifiable human capacity to face impossible odds and still find a way to survive.